Okay, welcome guys for our first session, which is based on Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. We will start with a quick group introduction. So what we are going to do in next 1 hour today is we will introduce this group. We will welcome a new volunteer in our group who has joined us to drive this group forward. Then we will have a integration case study presentation by Ashish, where he will be demonstrating how they have used Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations to solve some complex business problem using various patterns. And then we will talk about what's coming next in this group. So a quick introduction about why we have joined this group, what is the objective of this group, and how we will work together with the community. So the objective is to share, learn, and grow together. We know that technology is changing very rapidly every day, every week, new features are getting released. So we have created this group so that people can share their knowledge, learn from each other's experience, and shape up their career in the right direction. You can join us on LinkedIn and Twitter. We are aiming to create user group sessions. We will leverage some technology platform, and we are also aiming to create some reusable assets as a part of this journey going forward. Quick introduction of the volunteers who are driving this group at the moment. So on the screen, you see myself, Paresh, Rahul Sharma, and Satya Kejriwal. So we would like to welcome Satya. He has joined hands with us to drive this group forward. Satya is based in Sydney, so why don't we just listen from Satya? So Satya, can you introduce yourself to the group uh, and tell us what your thoughts are? Over to you.
Thanks, Ajit, for giving this opportunity to volunteer in this group. I know it's challenging to be a volunteer in such a large group, big responsibility, but you convince me. Like I'll ask you why I need to be volunteer. Like what's everybody looks for the benefit, right? What's for me, right? So I'll be covering that. What's for me and what's for you guys as a volunteer or as a participant as well, right? So let me share my screen just to brief you about myself. Sorry, can I share my screen? It. Yeah, okay. Just take 2-3 minutes. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so you're seeing the slide now?
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Satya Kejriwal. I live in Sydney since last 4 years. In Dynamics 365 FNO, basically AX 2012 or Exapta. So I started from the time when it was called Exapta 3.0 in 2006. I never thought I'll be in ERP or I'll be in IT because I did CA, right? I was from finance. So I always aspired to be CFO maximum, right? So accountant or I can be CEO for some day of any company. So that was my aspiration, but somehow I got into IT very early in my career in 2006. And after that, there's no looking back. I stayed for 6 years in first company, then 6 years in another company, and now 3 years as an independent consultant. My hobbies, my passion. So I'm from India. I know. So if you're from India, definitely you love cricket. In Australia, I developed this passion of TT as well, table tennis. I do little bit of gym, singing, little bit of singing. I can do like many other people. And the best thing I like to do in my life, day-to-day life, is mentoring. So I like to coach people, formal, informal, about their career, about personal life. So that's my hobby. I was project manager, like management stream as well for few years in between. I started my career as a finance consultant, did project management. Again, back to the product now. Like I'm not into project management anymore. Okay, so career-wise, as I said, I did my chartered accountancy in 2003. For 2-3 years, I was here and there. I worked in art systems in Noida. Then that was a big break for a long time in my career. I spent in Ireland first, Mumbai, Gurgaon, and a few other cities of India. And that's where I got my first ERP break, right? And we implemented the Exapta 3.0 in that company. That was a huge implementation. Then I moved to Philippines. I spent almost 4 years in Philippines. I worked with Ignify. So some people might be from Ignify in this call, must be knowing me, Ignify or Hitachi. So India, Philippines, and then Australia since last year, and few projects I have been part of, and I know you have been into Dynamics world. Sometime you must have been into these projects, so you might know me already. Right. So recently, I also tried to author a book on finance D365, and which is like coming very soon. Okay, so coming to this question, why I joined this community. Okay, so Rachit told me some reasons. I have my own reason, like very similar to what Rachit is doing. Okay, so when it comes to community, the question comes, okay, why community? Definitely, we are sharing knowledge here, right? So knowledge is something which is now everywhere. You go to YouTube, you go to Microsoft Docs, you will see all the knowledge everywhere. But why to join community? For knowledge. So that's my reason. Like community brings the discipline. Like this session is starting at 5 o'clock India time. Then I need to be there, right? So I need to leave all my work and join this session. If you are relying on YouTube, you can do it anytime, and that anytime doesn't come, right? So that's the biggest reason that you should be joining some community that can bring discipline in you. And there are some friends, right, who can pull you in that session. Come, let's have fun, right? Ask some questions. Practical experience sharing. So today's session is from Ashish. He'll be sharing some practical experience. So it's not theoretical as you see in the like on the, let's say, Microsoft Docs, right? So there's more of like how to do the things, but how the things happen in practical life, those are sometimes very different, right? So that's what we can share in these groups. Networking, definitely. Before joining these communities, I knew very few people, right, from my previous companies, my previous projects, but from these communities, I now know, like in last 2-3 months, I know like more than 20 people who are in Dynamics world. I didn't know that in Australia, we have like hundreds of Dynamics resource. So we have been part of this with the help of Faisal and Rachid, definitely, like part of another community here in Australia, and where we have like hundreds of people. So I was so surprised that, okay, hundreds of people already working in Dynamics only in Australia. So that was so surprising for me. Okay, so network, like professional network, definitely that remains professional, but out of that network, you also get few friends, and those are the friends for life, right? And that becomes your capital, social capital, right? So I think if you can really get some real friends out of these communities that run for whole life, and like you can't ask for more, right? So that's your real capital. So I would say the discipline in learning from learning side and friends for life. These are the two biggest reason of I'm part of this community. I'm spending my time here, right? And I also ask every one of you to come join, attend these sessions, ask questions, it's a good opportunity to ask these live questions here, right? And raise your hand to be a presenter sometime, right? Like what have you done in the past, and like it's just you're doing every day. You just need to present here, right? Okay, that's it from my side. If you have any question for me, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I'll leave this floor for Ashish.
Yeah, thanks, Satya. It was good to hear your reasons, and I am sure it will inspire others also to join the groups and come forward and connect with other people and network, share their experience. If they are struggling with something, they can always reach out to the group and post a question on the forums. Great. So, yep, we have a strong team looking good, driving this group forward. How to join this group, guys? We have recently started our handle on Twitter. As you can see, we are still forming. We are on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can scan these QR codes to join us and follow us there. So please share these QR codes in your network, scan them, join us, and help us to drive it forward. Cool. Today's session is about real-time case studies on Dynamics 365 Finance and Operation integrations, which will be presented by Ashish. And I'm really looking forward to it, Ashish, and really excited to see what you are going to share with us. I know you have some great content lined up. So over to you, Ashish. The stage is all yours. And nail it, mate.
Okay, thank you, Rachit. Yeah, so like I am Ashish, and I'm here just because of Rachit, because he asked me to present something like to the group, and I'm not kind of person like who is very outspoken or like who is very engaged in the group activity or in the blogs or something. So that's the whole credit goes to Rachit actually, that he brought me into this platform to present something, and that's I'm doing first time in my life. So and that's true in the is such a big group. So I have never done it before. So please excuse me if I get stuck somewhere or I'm not able to deliver something. So yeah. So yeah. So maybe I will go through my slides. So let's start. Let me share my screen. So can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So just a bit introduction about myself. So I've been working on this technology for last 16 years. So I started in 2005 with Accepta 3.0. And then I worked on the various Dynamics versions like 4.0, 2009, 2012. And then for last 3-4 years, I've been working on finance and operations. So, and my experience is quite diverse kind of experience. Because I have worked both in consulting companies and the end user. So I understand the pain points for both the situation, like when you work as a consultant or when you work in uh, as a end user employee. So I understand both the things because I've gone through both the pains. So and I have worked on various regions. Like I worked few years in United States, and then I worked a few years in India, and for last 3 years I've been working in Australia. So currently I am working for Hitachi Construction and Machinery. So like it's a manufacturing company, and that we are like biggest producer of this construction equipment and the mining equipments, and we do servicing as well for those machines. So and what I love actually, I'm not very techie kind of person. Like I am kind of person like who likes to work with the business people and try to understand their problem and solve that. So that's what I love it, and that's why I prefer the end user company where I can work directly with the end user and I can help them. So and my contact details, like my email address is on the screen, and my LinkedIn profile, this QR code is also there, so you guys can get connected with me through my email address and the LinkedIn profile. So agenda for today, like what we are going to cover today in this session. So I will go through some of the integration concepts, and then I will go through one real-time case study where I have used multiple integrations, so that I will cover in that case studies, and then we'll see like the various integrations in Dynamics, like the recurring integrations, the data package APIs, custom services, OData services, and I will give like a little bit brief idea about the Postman, although most of the people might have used it, but I will still give some brief idea. And and then I will give some demo of some of the integration calls using the Postman tool. So and at the end, actually, we'll have some Q&A session. So you can ask the question and I will try to answer it. So the first thing is integration concept. So integration concept, like in general, in integration world, there are 5 different type of integrations we do, like, and that's and they are actually migration, broadcast, bidirectional sync, correlation, and aggregation. So, and most of these types actually we use in Dynamics word. So like migration is like when you actually move some data set from one environment to another environment. That pattern, actually we call it the migration pattern. The broadcast is like when you send the information from one system to multiple system at the same time. So that's we use broadcast pattern. And bidirectional sync, when you want to have the same information in 2 different systems at the same time. So that's where we do the bidirectional sync. And the aggregation is when you get the information from multiple places into the Dynamics. That's we call it aggregation. And the last pattern is the correlation pattern, which is actually basically an intersection. So where you share certain information between multiple systems. So that's how these are the different integration patterns so that we use in general. So in Dynamics, actually, we have like 2 type of integration. One is like batch integration, and another one is the real-time integrations. So in the batch integrations, we have the like process like data management, package APIs, recurring integration, Dataverse, Azure Data Lake, Entity Store, and BIOD. And for the real-time integration, we use the OData, custom services, dual rights, and the virtual entities. So these were like some basic things, and then we can go to some other concepts like authentication and authorization. So that this is a very important thing to understand for the integration, like what is authentication, what is authorization. So authentication and authorization, basically they are two different things, and generally people misunderstood, and they think that it's is the same thing. So authentication is like the process where you prove that who you are, and authorization means like the act of granting authenticated party permission to do something. So I will try to explain these two things in very simple simple way. So like if suppose you have some booking in hotel, so when you go there, so you actually show them show your ID card, PAN card, whatever the information, to verify that you are the right person who has the booking. Okay, so once they check that you are the right person, they verify your information, then they give you the key. Key is generally the card actually that you can go and access your room. So this the first process where they validate your information and see that you are the right person, that is called authentication. And when you get the keys and you go and access your room, that process is called authorization, because you got the authority to access your room, because you can't go and access anything else. You can go and access your room with that key. So that is the difference between these two, and I will explain both the process when I will give you the demo. Or using the Postman tool, and I will show you that where we use this authentication, because in Dynamics actually we use authentication using the Azure Active Directory, where we have the identity management. So there actually we do the authentication, and for authorization we have the OAuth 2.0 authorization, so that we use for authorization. So the second thing is like second concept is like SOAP versus REST. I believe I should have some slide for that. Yeah. So second concept is SOAP versus REST. So SOAP is actually a protocol, and REST is a architectural pattern. And in SOAP, actually, we use like only one format, that XML format we use to exchange the data. And in the RESTful API, we can have multiple formats. Like we can have the JSON, we can have the text file, we can have XML. So, and in SOAP message, actually, we provide a lot of information, and like RESTful API, it's a very simple thing. Okay, so these are the basic, and you know that we in the previous versions we used to we had only the SOAP. We were using SOAP. Now actually in D365 we have the RESTful APIs. So that's the change. And actually, yeah. So I think I don't want to go too much details. So. Okay, I think the next thing is the case study. So I prepared one case study for you guys to explain the integrations. So let's first talk about the business case. So what we have like in our integrations. We make the big machines. We make like very expensive machines. So we sell that machines, and we once the machine is sold, so then we give the warranty. So first 1 year warranty is free, and then after that we sell the warranty to the customer, where we go and do the service. So and that actually and then we have the billing schedule. So where actually we bill the customers like sometime quarterly, sometime monthly, sometime yearly, so that we have different kind of billing schedules in the system. And then yeah, so and then we do the service. So this is the business process. So and in our company actually, because it's global company, so we have our parent company actually, they decide the parts for all the regional companies. So basically they decide all the parts, and they send that information to the to our company, and our company actually then we create the part information, and then we actually go and add the cost price on that items, and then in our company actually we have like multiple systems. Like we have the because it's a very customer centric environment, so we have the CRM system, and for all the finance thing we have the finance and operation system. So basically so CRM system is like is our customer centric thing. So there actually we create all the service contract, we create all the orders, we create the bundles, we create the quotations. So those things we do in and the customer creation, customer information. So those things we manage inside the CRM system, and dynamic system is used for the inventory management, warehousing, and then we do the procurement and the sales and all the finance. So that's how we manage in these systems. So we receive the part information from our head office, and then we add the price information. So after adding the parts and price information, we send this information back to our CRM system. So CRM system can have this information, so which they can use while creating the quote. So while creating quote, they need the price. So that's why they get all this information, and then when the CRM system create the customer, that customer should be created in Dynamics, because we receive the order. So in order to create the sales order, we need the customer. So that is created inside the CRM system, and that comes through integration in Dynamics. So and then in Dynamics, once the order is created, we do the picking, packing, and invoicing. So once the invoicing is done, then we send some information back to Salesforce, and then we also send some on-hand information back to Salesforce, because there actually we create the service order, and they should know that whether they have the inventory or not. And then once we create the service order in CRM system, that we push it back in Dynamics. So that's how the whole integration was there. So in this actually whole scenario, we used different integration strategy. So we used the recurring integration, we used the data packages, and some places we used the OData services, and some places we used the custom services. So that's how that I was. Now I will go like this, I will go in deep case by case, and I will tell you like why we use certain integration pattern in that integration. So our first integration is getting the file from our head office, and because it's a separate country and all, so they have this SFTP server where they generate the file and they put it, and then the all other regional companies, they go and get the file from there. So so this kind of thing, like where we have to get the file from the SFTP server, this is a very common scenario, and it's used for like uh, in Dynamics, it's used for multiple business scenarios. So sometimes actually we use this SFTP server for even for the banks, where we generate the file and we put it in the SFTP server for of the bank. So here the challenge was like because SFTP server they have the firewall, so so they can't open the firewall for anything. So so in the firewall you'll have to allow certain number of IPs. So in that case, that's why we had chosen to use logic apps, because there can be multiple ways to handle this scenario. Like you can write custom logic inside the Dynamics, where you can create some .NET DLL file, and you can call this SFTP server directly from the Express code. So but the challenge is like how you will how that firewall how you'll handle this firewall thing from that approach. So in this kind of scenario, actually Microsoft actually recommends to use the logic apps, because logic apps has a range of IP address per region. So they have like 10-15 IP for like Australia East region. So we can give that IP range to that firewall, and then they can open the firewall for those IPs. So that's the most recommended approach to handle this SFTP server integrations. So that's what we use in this particular integration. So after picking the file from the SFTP server, so in the logic apps, actually we built the package, and then we imported the package, the data package inside the Dynamics. So the reason we use the data packages from logic apps to Dynamics, because it's like very ad hoc way. It's like it's not real time we do. So it's like because we were updating this items once in a week. So that's why we use this data package, and in that actually file we have like lots of records, like maybe 100,000 items were there. So because this our head office, they were not caring, they were sending the full file, they were not sending the delta what the new item they created. So that way actually we so the volume was very high, and it was asynchronous. They were not expecting anything back from the Dynamics. So that's why we had chosen this the data package import. So where actually we push the data package from the logic apps to Dynamics. And the another region we had chosen the data package because it was triggered outside, like from the Dynamics, because when the logic apps was getting the file from the SFTP, then only it was creating a package and pushing it to Dynamics. So it's not something we are scheduling inside the Dynamics. It was scheduled outside the Dynamics. That's the region we had chosen the data package approach. Okay. So our second integration, so once the item comes in Dynamics and we created item in Dynamics, and then we send this product information and the pricing detail to the Salesforce. So in this particular scenario, we had used this recurring integration, where actually we were sending the data in every 4 hours. So if any price change happens on some item, so that needs to be sent back to the our CRM system. So that's the reason we were running the recurring scheduler. So, and in this case also, like we are updating like lot of item prices and all. So the volume is very high and it's asynchronous. So we send the information to CRM system in the batch mode. So that's why we have chosen the recurring integration. So recurring integration and the data package, they are two integrations we generally use when we use the batch integration in Dynamics, and the volume is very, very high. Okay. So once we send this information to Salesforce, so then Salesforce actually creates the quotes to the customer, and once the quote is confirmed, they create the order. Sorry, they create sometimes they create the customer also. So the customer information when they create, so that information also should come to Dynamics, because whenever they create the customer, it should be immediately created in Dynamics. So that's actually, we needed that kind of integration real time. So in this particular scenario, we had chosen the OData service, where actually we created the customer through OData services in Dynamics. So it was immediately created, and Dynamics created the customer ID. And then that information was going back to our CRM system, because they were linking the what's the Dynamics customer account. Yeah. So that in this particular integration we use the OData, and the reason we had used this thing, because it's very low volume. We are creating customers very rarely, and they needed the synchronous integration, because they wanted to get some information back from Dynamics, the customer account and all. They wanted to update in the CRM system. So that's the reason we had used this OData service in this particular case. So next integration is like, so as we told that, as I told that we create the contract with the customer. So it's like in old days, actually we used to call it blanket orders. Now we call it the sales agreements. So we create the sales agreement, and in the contract actually in the CRM system, and then we send that information to Dynamics. So Dynamics actually we create the contract. So so when we create the contract in Dynamics, so after that actually we had to create the billing schedule. Like how the customer will sell, how we are going to invoice that order. So and then we are setting the periods in that billing schedule. So we were running a lot of logic after creating the sales agreement. So in this particular scenario, we had chosen the custom service. We built the custom service in this scenario. so that we can create the sales agreement. At the same time, we can do some run some custom logic to create the billing schedule and all. And then we are sending, and this is also synchronous call, so that we are sending that agreement ID back to the CRM system, and CRM system was attaching that information to their contract. Okay. So this is that's the reason actually I had chosen this custom service in this particular case. So, and then I think in some cases actually we create the sales order as well in Dynamics. So when we sell the machines, the big machines to the customer, at that time we create the sales order. That's we call it for finished goods sales order. So we say that information also comes to Dynamics. So in that is also we use the custom service, because when we create the sales order in Dynamics, then we send the information, some information back to the CRM system with our Salesforce for Dynamics sales order number and all other information that needs to be sent back to the CRM system, so they can attach to their order. So once we get the order in Dynamics, so in Dynamics actually we do the picking and packing. So during this process, because these machines are very big and very expensive, so we use the serial numbers as a tracking dimension, so that during the picking process we attach we generate a serial number and we attach it with that device, and when we invoice it this device, so we send information back to the CRM system, so that they should know that this is this serial number we used for this device, and this is already installed in some particular location, so they can mark it this device as installed. Okay, so yeah, so this particular invoice information, because we were generating the invoice frequently, so in that scenario actually we used the recurring integration, because we were this is also like high volume data that we are sending to our CRM system, and that's also asynchronous. So we had chosen this recurring integration in this particular scenario. So, and after the machine is installed, then we provide the service, because based on our contract with the customer, so we provide the service to the machines. So we create actually work orders in our CRM system. So in order to create because the field service was managed inside the CRM system, so they had the access to the CRM system for the work order for the service orders and all. So they should know that whether this some particular parts inventory, whether they have it in their particular warehouse or not. So they should know the on-hand information. So the Dynamics, because the Dynamics was the source of truth for all the inventory information. So Dynamics was sending that information to our CRM system, and that is also like a lot of data, the high volume data we are sending to the CRM system. So in this particular scenario, also we used the recurring integration. Okay. Yeah. So when we create the service order in CRM system, So CRM system that sends that once the work is done, so they send that information to Dynamics. So Dynamics actually we create the service order. We then we consume that inventory because we have to because in Dynamics we have to consume the inventory. So we consume that inventory in the service supervisor's warehouse, and then we do the invoicing. So that's how we complete the service order. And once this is invoiced, sometime we have the cost associated with that work order. Sometimes it's free service. So that if it is cost associated with that, then we send that information back to our CRM system. So this is all the whole case study that we were this is the whole scenario that we were using in our business. And that's and these are the integration we used in this case. So, and this is our the overall integration diagram. So this whatever I explained individual integration, this is shown in one picture, that how we manage the integration, the whole cycle. Yeah, so during this whole integration process, actually there are some lesson learned. Like so what we learned to reduce the integration time is like sometime we should be very careful while we do the field mapping, the field length, and the type of the fields. Sometimes there is limitation from the external system. Like I gave the example for the SFTP, that they have the firewall restriction. So those things also we need to consider, and then we should choose the right strategy for the integration. And then we should choose the third thing is like choosing the right strategy actually. So basically same integration can be done multiple ways, like but it's very important you choose the right strategy for right kind of business for that kind of business scenario. So that's very important. So, and then the strategy you choose based on the factors, that what's the volume of data, what is the frequency, and whether the integration is the real time or batch integration. So these are the things we learned during that in the whole integration cycle. So now I can show some demo. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Ashish, we can see your screen.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so for testing of our integration, so we use the Postman tool to test all these integrations. So Postman tool, you know that how you can, it's a free tool. You can go in Google and you can download the Postman tool. So but when you want to use the Postman tool, so the first thing is you first register the app in the Azure portal for Postman tool, and you should generate the client ID and secret. And as you know that in Azure you generate a secret once only, so you should save it, otherwise you lose it. So so you save it somewhere safe, and then you can go to the Dynamics screen, and let me. So in Dynamics, actually in the system administration, so there is a form that is Azure Active Directory where you need to go and enter that information. So then only you can use the Postman tool for testing purpose. So when when you install the Postman tool, you here in Postman tool you have the environments. You can create multiple environments, one for development, one for testing, testing environment. So when you basically you have to define some parameter, like when you create some create some environment, you can go and assign some like variables, like one is the tenant ID. So that's your tenant for your FinOps, and the client ID that you created for the Postman tool, so that you can define it here. And the resource, which resource you are want to access. So in our case, we are accessing the SIT environment, so that's why we have this SIT environment, and the BRI token is generates it, so that it shows here. So so as I told in the beginning that we have two things. One is authentication and then authorization. So then here in Postman, first thing we authenticate authenticate that you are the right person accessing the environment. So here actually you have the URL, and when you send the request. So in this actually you actually first define all the variables in the request body, like what is the grant type, what is the client ID, and what is the client secret, and which resource you are accessing. So in Postman actually you don't need to give the full value here. So you can give the variable using the curly braces. So if you define like this, so that it understand you are giving the grant type and client ID and all. So when you send the request, yeah, so it returns back like what kind of token it is. So you can see in the body, like so it tells like it has created a BRI token, and it's telling the expiry, like how many minutes or seconds is valid. So it's like 35.99, so almost 1 hour. This token will be valid, and this is the expiry on and not before, and this is the resource that we can access, and this is the token. So in our next call that we will when we call the API, so we use this OAuth token in that to access the API. So when the API when the call goes to API actually checks this signature, which actually generally we call it the JWT signature. So it verifies the JWT signature, and then it gives the access to that because in authorization you actually you tell that what exactly you want to do with that API, whether you want to read the data, whether you want to write the data, or you want to delete, or you want to update the data. So that you do it when you call the API. So you got this authorization token, and now if I call the API, so this is our custom service. So I built one custom service to update the price. So this is simple price, purchase price or sales price information on the released product. So I created a custom service, and this is our JSON structure. So so how to call the custom service? This is actually basically the URL that we call. So before, I think I call this, let me show you that how I build the custom service. So custom service, as you know that we had the custom service in 2012 as well, and now we have in D65. So the only difference is like 2012 it was only supported soap messages. Now we have SOAP and REST both. So in D65. So in for that custom service, you need the contract and you need the service. So I have created the contract, which is the parameters that you pass to the service. So like item ID, purchase price, sales price, and the legal entity. And then we have the response contract, what response you want to send it back to the second party, that you can create the response contract. And then you have the service. So where you actually define the request and response contracts. And in the custom service, you create the service, and then you create the service group. That's pretty much same way that we used to do in 2012. So so here I'm calling our custom service to update the price. So if I go and change it, like and if I send the request, so here actually in one more thing I want to tell, that in authorization, we are using the same bearer token that we generated in our first request. So it's that information is already saved. So I can show you that here in our bearer token is the same bearer token that we generated in this in our first request. Okay. And same bearer token we are using in this request to call the API. We are calling the post, so that means we want to update update some data. So we are using the post request. Okay. So this is what I'm returning from my. This is just my test class. So I'm returning that everything is imported. So if I go and show. So the purchase price is 170.85. So this is the purchase price, and the sales price is 190.95. So that's updated here. Okay, so that's how the custom service works. The second thing I want to show you, like the OData call. So OData, like you can OData is like real-time real-time service, like synchronous call. So you can update the data real-time. So, or you can get the information real-time from the system. So sometimes like you just want to see the on-hand information, so that at that time you can use the OData call. And how to call the URL is like, so this is the way we call it. Like you can give the filter which item you want and which particular warehouse you want to see the on-hand inventory. And then in here also we are using the same BRI token, and because the BRI token is saved, so you don't need to enter it again, and you can run it. You got the response back. So this is for because this is get. This is just I'm reading the data from system, and if you want to update, so we have the post request as well, like for updating the customer. So, yeah. So I sent this request to Dynamics to create the customer, and the customer account was created. Yeah. So this is like the post request for OData service. And the next thing is I want to show how to do the recurring integration. So for recurring integration, we have the data management. Because in our earlier days, like in previous versions, we used to have the application integration framework to do the integration. Now Microsoft has removed the AIF, and now actually the way we do the integration is through the data management, where we create the data entities. So data entities is nothing but the updatable views that we create, and we create first we create the data project. So like I have created one project for export. So in that actually like I've used one data entity, the user group user list, very simple data entity. Okay, and there actually I want to export the data in the CSV file. So in the recurring integration, that's the in this integration actually you can use both file and the data packages, but in the data package API we use only the data packages. So that's actually the difference. But I think recurring integration is not available for on-prem implementations. So it's only available on the cloud-based system. So here actually, when we have the data project, we create the recurring job. So we go here and create the recurring data job. You can give any name like so here actually you can see it generated some GUID. This one we call it execution ID for this particular integration. And here we need to provide the application ID. So which application will call this particular recurring integration? So that we have to give the application ID. So in our case, actually, we are calling through Postman. So we need to get the application ID from the Postman. give it here. Okay, and here you need to set the recurrence. You can set maybe 10 minutes. 1 hour. Any recurrence you can set it. So.
Yeah, she's just a time check. We are 5 minutes over time already, so yeah, we can wrap it up quickly.
Yeah. Just I think I just want to cover this recurring integration.
Yeah. Go for it. Go for it. Thanks.
Yeah. So when we create it, it's asking you want to create a recurring. So you can go to the manage recurring integration job. Here you can see that whatever the recurring integration you created for this particular project. So this is the one I created, and this one I created before, so I can go and see the messages. So here we have some process message. So once this is processed based on our recurring integration time schedule. So once the message is processed, you can go and call it from the from your middleware, and then you can export the file. And how you call it, like you need to use the execution ID. So since I'm using this one, so I can use the execution ID for this. And I can go to export. I think this is the same one. Yeah. So we can use, we can call this export recurring integration. So we have the DQ API, so we can call the DQ API to export this the file from the recurring integration. So when it's done, so it returns the download URL. So and when you go to the recurring integration manage message, you see this message is changed from processed to dequeued. And when you go and download it, you can download this URL. So once you download it, this status will be changed to download it. And then the third step is like you can acknowledge it. So you can go and acknowledge. For acknowledge, actually you need this information that you need to pass the correlation ID and the download URL. So you need to pass it here. Once you pass it, yeah, I think it's status change to acknowledge. So yeah, that's the recurring integration export. The same way actually we can do the import process for the recurring integration. And we have the data packages. Also, I wanted to show, I think maybe we don't have enough time. I think that's it from my side. I'm really sorry. This is the first time I'm doing. I'm not used to of doing all this stuff. So maybe I might have lost the continuity many places. Yeah, I think
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's it from my side, Rachit.
Yeah, I'm speechless, Ashish. That was really informative, and you have covered all the patterns along a very strong business case where you have used it. And I'm sure this session will go a long way and people will use it as a reference to design their integration case studies based on it. I'm just stunned the way you have explained, and to the level of detail you have gone was really great. So a big thanks to you from all of us for sharing this valuable knowledge with the community. It's really appreciated. We had few questions. I think we were trying to answer, but due to time, we won't be able to do Q&A now. But we will bring them to you, Ashish, and we will try to get back to the people who have asked this question, and we will try to get back to them with the responses. Can you see my screen by chance? Like I'm presenting today's session slide.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So guys, thanks for joining us today. What I just want to quickly take you through is what's coming next. Sorry, my system is a bit hanged up, but we have few upcoming sessions. Just a minute. Yeah. So we have two sessions lined up in this group. One is based on how you can use Azure Cloud Platform for Dynamics 365 implementations, which will be presented by Umesh Pandit on 29th of August at the same time. So do join us. That will be a fully loaded session with a lot of information. And then we have a session planned on 12th September by Debashish Ray, who is a supply chain expert, and he will be talking about the warehouse management overview in this group. So stay connected with us and follow us and join us and attend these sessions to learn from these experts. Going forward, we have some QR codes. By now, you guys must have realized how much we love QR codes. So if you want to present in this group, scan this code, submit your form, we will connect with you. And if you want to give us any feedback or if you want to submit any idea on how we can make this group more meaningful to you, how we can make this more collaborative for everyone, please share your ideas with us and we will be happy to discuss those with you. Cool. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for taking out your precious time on a weekend. And I know a lot of people joining from Australia, which is pretty late here. So thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us in today's session. And thanks a lot, Ashish, for sharing this valuable information. It was really informative, and you have shown your metal mate. You have shown every integration in very line level detail. So that's really appreciable. Thank you. Any words from Satya, Paresh, before we close up?
Really, thank you, Ashish, and also Satya, who has joined us recently as well. Now, as Rachit mentioned, obviously we'll be providing all the links and everything in the group. So if you have your peers, please encourage them to join over here. It's not only about F&O, but it's about Dynamics 365. So if you want to present in Dynamics CE or any other part of Power Automate or anything, please use the link. We'll be providing that. Submit your request, and we will definitely schedule your session. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank you for taking out the time. Over to you now.
Thank you very much, Ashish. Being a functional person, I never took interest in integration scenario. I found it very technical always, but today I learned something new from you. Like it was again just because of the discipline I was having and sitting here for 1 hour. Yeah, thank you very much.
So, guys, if there's nothing else, we'll wrap up the call. And this was a recorded session, so it will definitely be on our YouTube channel. We'll also share our all the social media links. You can follow us over there, and be safe and have a good night.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashish.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks a lot.
Yeah, Ashish, it was a wonderful session.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Can you hear me, Ashish? My mic
Yeah.
got stuck actually.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks everyone, guys, for joining. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Ashish.
Thank you,
Okay.
Rachit, for doing it.
No
I know,
problem.
like,